Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Silverstone Pit Stop podcast here. Just going over all the action from round three. We've got two interviews with the drivers tonight for you to look forward to. And then we'll go into the penalties, which everyone seems to love and gets really good chat and banter in the comments. So obviously anything through this broadcast, just pop them in the comments, and myself and Dave will go through it. But without further ado, I am Andy Thompson. I am joined here with Mr. David Whitehouse. And Dave, Silverstone was a good round overall, but I think, which we will look at later on, is that starting procedure that everyone seems to like. There was a bit of a confusion at the back of the field.
Yeah, there's a little bit of confusion, but actually, I think as weirdly as it is, the confusion when I thought about it and sort of went through it in my own head was that I understood the rules differently to anybody else, to what the drivers were understanding it, and we'll go through that later. And I haven't had a chance to say to you, I would love to be able to go through what I thought the rules were before. So I think there's just a little bit of clarification needed there for people to understand, because obviously this place like Silverstone, we can't do a long warm-up lap. We don't have a choice. So it's just from Stowe onwards, which the top 2-3 classes managed to do, but then back at the back of the field, it was a bit of a misunderstanding, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, I think it certainly was, and we'll go through that to clarify everything out from the start of the race. But the rest of the race, I mean, Thomas Copey didn't have his main protagonist trying to track him down in Elliot Hellier. But, I mean, take nothing away from Thomas. He was exceptional on that race, led from start, and pretty much just extended his race. And we did get him in the interview after round number 2, and he was basically saying that he was really struggling with the tyres on that the second half of the stint, which obviously we saw the Evo SR guys in Sebring literally just close him down, and he sort of struggled at the end. But Silverstone, it seemed to turn around, so he seemed to have found the niche that he was looking for, or the little gain that he was looking for, and he was able to stretch out that lead from one of his main protagonists, Matty Chambers, to be able to got second in that race. But he did an exceptional job there.
Yeah, he did the job we expect from Thomas Cope, to be fair. I don't want to seem harsh on him, but he's been maybe off his par best in the first couple of rounds, maybe due to the tyre wear. That's not putting down the drivers who actually went to beat him, but and we may have had a bit of a closer race if they had been able to make it to the event. But yeah, he was certainly back on full form by the time he got to Silverstone. Circuit he acknowledges he loves, but we did have some, he won by 15 seconds, but it wasn't 15 seconds for the whole race. It was like slowly building up as the race went on. We had great battles a bit further back. My camera's about to fall off there. Bear with me. It wasn't as simple as it sounds for Thomas Cope, but it was the kind of performance we expect from Thomas Cope.
Yeah, certainly was. And then you had in the Pro-Am Patrick Thompson. I mean, he just had an outstanding race at Silverstone. He was 4th overall, and even fighting for 3rd place overall, including in the pros. I mean, he just had an exceptional round, and it just all clicked into place with him. He didn't have it all his own way out on his own. There was Matthew Hubler there that was trying to track him down. But, he done an exceptional job there, and he must be proud and thrilled with his result and how well he did, actually.
Yeah, it was a great drive by Patrick. He kept it. He didn't just keep it clean. He didn't just sit behind the pro runners, wait for them to fall off. He really had to battle, especially Max Wolf and James Logston at the start. Got past Oscar Christensen, Scott Mokes, Harry Wills. They were all in the same battle. Dean Powell was to start with before his incident, which I'm sure we'll come to later. But yeah, it was a phenomenal drive because he didn't just take these people. He then pulled away from them, and yeah, it set a few tongues wagging on whether he was Pro-Am or not. But I'm sure he will be staying Pro-Am because some circuits you just click with, and Patrick was well and truly tuned in on Silverstone.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, everybody has their favourite tracks, and that must be one of his because he was up in pro timings for that race. But the previous rounds, he's at the front end of the pro-ams. But it's not a case of somebody has a really good one round and they get moved up a class because there's a 12-round season. We're only 3 rounds into it. And there's plenty of more rounds to come to be able to do. But it was a great race overall. I love watching Silverstone. It's a great track, super wide. You can get some really good passes done on the course, and I think we do have one good pass down into Brooklands that we're probably going to show a little bit later on from our very own Max Wolf, who's joined us in the chat. I see him there with extremely small writing, so let's see what's going on there.
That is actually 2 pictures of racing cars. It's just when it comes through to our thing, it's 2 very, very small racing cars.
Yeah, it definitely is. But we've got a couple of drivers then standing by for a quick chat. So first off, we're going to bring in our one and only female driver, Lydia Ross. I'm going to pronounce her last name as she said I got it spot on. Joachim Strugger to join us in the box. So let's welcome in Lydia. So Lydia, welcome to the podcast, and obviously our one and only female driver on the grid. How are you this evening?
I'm great. Thank you for asking, Andy and David.
So obviously just tell us a little bit about yourself, background, how you got into iRacing, where you start, what cars you normally enjoy driving, and how you heard about this event.
Okay, from the beginning, I guess I was always a person who drove really fast in the traffic, and therefore I have lost my driver's license more than 1 and more than 2 times for driving insanely fast. And long story short, I had never driven in computer games other than Lotus. I don't know if anyone remembers the game Lotus. It's like a very old game. It's one of the beginning games. You had like a 200 megahertz computer and you played Lotus on it with the keyboard. But then COVID came, so I went to the university, started studying business management, and there is like this team in the university that creates electric formula cars. And I was like, hey, fuck it, I'll check that out. I like speed. So I joined the team, and there is like this what do you call it? Like there is a competition, like who is going to be the driver of the team. This team goes to Europe and competes with other teams, for example, on Silverstone track. And I was like competitive, and I won that competition. And that was held in the simulators. Like there is this facility downtown that had all these pro racing simulators. And I won, and I started like thinking, hey, I like this. And I started showing up there a lot, practicing, and the guys there, they really wanted me like to get more involved, and I just started buying myself steering wheels and figuring it out. So it's just like been 1.5 years or 2 years since I just discovered sim racing for the first time through a team in my university, and from in these 2 years I've become a part of the management in AKIS, which is the FIA official affiliate in Iceland. So I'm organizing real races and also, for example, the Icelandic nationals in sim racing and whatnot. So I've become really fastly involved, even though I'm not too fast of a driver in the sim. I feel like I'm faster in my car, and so I have this nice, very powerful Mercedes-Benz, which I have a cop detector, of course, now. It's I recommend it to everyone who likes to drive is to buy a police detector. So now I can drive safely all over town without hassle.
Well, I suppose being on the simulator, you're not going to lose your license. The only thing you're going to lose is sort of safety rating and obviously I rating. So it's a lot less hazardous to your normal life. But you mentioned there, obviously, you started getting into iRacing over COVID, which probably 90% of people on iRacing and any other driving simulators got in when we were all stuck in. Obviously, I can see you've got a Fanatec wheel with a Podium Advance paddle shifters there, but what else do you use for driving? Because I've seen you had a VR headset on for the first round. And then I think the last round at Silverstone, you basically didn't have your headset on. So do you just switch between VRs and just explain the equipment that you're currently driving with?
It kind of just goes from that I got lended a Rift from the GT Academy, which has all these simulators, and I put it in the computer, and then I wanted to stream. I was like, I'm going to stream. And then I bought this super graphics card and the super processor for the computer, and then the old Rift didn't accompany that, so I went to the store and bought myself an Oculus 2, and turns out the Oculus 2 is like not a fail-safe thing. So when I was practicing the day before, it was literally just losing contact with the computer. So like in the middle of a race, it's like Oculus just got disconnected, and you're just like, okay, so now I gotta restart the simulator. And I didn't want to take that chance in the race. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just use the screen and have a beer and trying to enjoy it, because I feel like it's more competitive to be involved, like, or engulfed within the world that you're competing in. But yeah, so I haven't really decided if I'm gonna do Donington in VR or not.
Yeah, so basically you're talking about VR. I've never actually had to go myself but do you feel like motion sickness? I know, Dave, you've said you've used VR and it makes you feel sick. Do you feel any motion sickness when you use VR?
I honestly, for the first time when I bought it, it had like a strap, like a rubber strap.
Yeah.
And if you have a rubber strap on it, you can imagine that when you move the head slightly, the rubber strap is gonna experience like this recoil effect, like where it's coming back to center. And when it's coming back to center, it's going to stimulate a very weird, unnatural effect on your eyes, similar to being drunk. It's like wobbling back into center. And I feel like buying this thing here from Kiwi on Amazon, it really creates like a rigid helmet on your face, so it doesn't create this additional wobble. That was a game changer, but
you got to get practice with it, I think, innit? You can't just put it on and use it and expect it to be good. But what sort of wheelbase are you using then, Lydia?
I'm using the Fanatec DD Express thing, 8 nanometers or whatever it's called.
Oh, the new direct drive from Fanatec, is it?
Yeah, it's really good for me. I have heard from my friends that they feel it's not strong enough, but honestly, for me, I get so sweaty and I feel like I'm building muscles here after every race. So it's more than enough for me, totally. And
right. You certainly don't want to get a DD2 or DD1 then, because I think they go up to about 32 Newton meters, and I think they could cause some serious damage. But obviously, looking at you, you are our only female in a field of testosterone-fueled men in their fast GT3 cars. How has that been for you for the first 3 opening rounds?
I think it's nourishing, actually, in some sense of it, but it has been demoralizing because I realized the fact that I don't have enough drive or will or feeling to, like, I guess like the desire to win is not as innate, but at the same time I really enjoy like competing with myself and improving, and there are a lot of guys that have been in this for a long time, and then I'm coming into it fresh, and I've been able to surpass them, and I'm like, okay. Being egotistical, but for me right now, the favorite thing about being a part of this competition is the fact that I have a really busy life, and for example, on Sundays it's like a really busy time, so to be able to tell everyone, yes, I'm competing in this official league, it's a very pro thing, I'll have to, my Sundays are off, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Lydia, she's so hardworking, she's competing in this sim racing thing, and wow, and it gives me a legitimate excuse to just take my time to race, and it would be much harder to be like mentally, I'm just going to practice for the whole Sunday evening and disregard reality, you know.
Exactly.
But no, so it's about cheating the matrix, if you will. So I'm really glad, because without your competition, I would be not
having
driving.
time for yourself.
Yeah.
Dave, have you got any questions for Lydia?
Well, for a start off, I know exactly what you mean about going to a college or a university, and that springboards your passion or anything like that, because I did that with karting. Never thought I was going to compete in real life karting, and then went to university, and the British University Karting Championship was running, so straight into that. So I know exactly where you mean there. But going away from racing, behind you we can see not exactly a cheap keyboard and that. Have you got sort of a love for music and things like that as well?
I think I grew up in a musical family. My mother was very strict. She made me learn accordion for many, many years, and when I was finally allowed to stop, I kind of just stopped for life. But there is a tiny part of me that wishes that I could make this electronic music, but I think I don't have the stamina or the due diligence to make anything that anyone wants to listen to. So it's kind of just for show, and I don't want to throw it away, you know. So yeah.
No, I can understand that. And with the racing, you've come into this series. You say you haven't quite got some of the will of some of them, because I mean, I know for a fact when I do VI racing special events, I don't have the will there to go practice, and it absolutely annoys my team to hell because I won't go out there and practice. But do you have that commitment to go into practicing, or is it more you just want to turn up, race, enjoy it, and what happens?
I of course I want to perform, you know, and I would like to get the podium of the pros, obviously, and I have to say that out of all these tracks and my history in iRacing, I have mainly been racing open wheelers, and I've only dedicated myself ever once to one track, and that is the Nordschleife. Nordschleife is like my home track. I can, for a period in my life, I used to print out large maps of Nordschleife, and I would even put it on the bathroom. So like when I was taking an tour number 1, I would be looking at the map of the Nordschleife just to memorize it completely. And I did that. I've done that a couple of times on a GT3. So that's kind of my home turf. But I've never driven GT3 on any of these tracks except the Nordschleife.
So we've got to watch out for you when that round comes up.
I don't know. It's probably going to be some hardcore carnage anyway. I'm just going to steer that, and then maybe my experience with that will give me some edge. I don't know.
Well, what we're going to have to do, Lydia, is actually get you on again, and you can give us a tune on your accordion. You give us a rendition so we get you. But no, it's been lovely to speak to you, Lydia, and it's always great to have you on the grid. And you know, 4th place in the AMS at the moment. You've certainly got an opportunity to get one of these lovely trophies that are just over my shoulder here.
4th place in the AMS. I'm 3rd place in the rookies, right?
Rookies, not AMS.
Rookies. Oh, you're in the rookies. Yes, sorry, my bad.
You're the one who changed it.
I know, I was.
I'm the 3rd place in the rookies, man. It's
yes,
okay.
So you got every opportunity.
Disqualified for driving.
But before we let you go, Lydia, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. You know, Haley Banks is an absolute genius. And Andy and Tommy also, they are geniuses, and David as well. And I'm cheering for Alexander Skoret, because me and him have had like a lot of close quarters in our racing history, and I've seen him grow as a driver, and I'm kind of like cheering for him. He's also driving a Benz, so yeah. If I'm cheering for Alexander to win his. I guess he's in the Pro-Ams. I don't know.
Pro-Ams, yes.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
And then also a shout out to Berens for driving a Ford.
Very brave man. Well, thank you for joining, Lydia, and good luck in Donington in 2 weeks' time. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys, and love to Britain.
Yes. So there was Lydia there, very insightful and very Seems very knowledgeable, obviously doing a master's at uni in business, certainly highly educated myself, and English is extremely good there. But without further ado, let's bring our second driver in for the day. And we're going to welcome to the stream Mr. David Gill here. So David, can you hear us, mate?
I can. Hello, Andy. Hello, David.
Hi.
Well, welcome, and obviously leading on from Lydia here. So the first question is, just let the viewers tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into iRacing, what sort of cars you prefer to drive in iRacing. Give us a little insight into the life and times of David Gill's iRacing.
So I was glad actually that David talked about karting, because before COVID, that was what I tried to get into. I'd never done any proper racing before, and I thought I'd give karting a go. And I was rubbish. So I tried a proper karting league thing, and I was shocking. A thing called Kart Sport, which is over here in the UK, which has since folded, unfortunately. You used to race that, David?
I used to run it.
Oh, did you really?
I used to run the series.
Oh, wow.
I ran the series until 2005.
Okay, wow.
I stepped away, and then sadly, obviously,
I'll leave you to it,
couldn't keep
then.
it going. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I ran it for a number of years under Nick Stanley and Rich Middleton. So
okay, yeah. I mean, it was great actually, but I was dog slow. I was just awful, just driving around like behind the whole grid. It was dreadful. And then of course COVID hit, and I got a sim racing wheel and pedals, just a Logitech setup. So I got a folding chair, and a friend of mine who was an old neighbour of mine sort of said, "Oh, you should come and give it a go and come and join me and my mates in Assetto Corsa on Sunday nights." So I gave that a go, and I was rubbish. So got into it a bit more seriously and found Driver 61 and started to get some coaching through their sim racing masterclass to start and improve my skills, and that got me into iRacing, obviously, because they do a lot of the coaching on iRacing. I then met a whole bunch of other guys who ultimately we turned into Reckless Abandon at that time, and we mainly got together and were doing endurance races, and that's kind of our thing, that we do a lot of endurance racing together. And then it's been really nice actually, because all of us, the whole team, starting off as 1.5K drivers, as everyone does, just steadily climbing, getting up to the 2.5K. One of the guys has broken 3K, and it's been nice to see like everybody improve steadily and sort of support each other. And then I got into I wanted to sort of take it up a level, because the iRacing lobbies can be a bit hit and miss. So I found Apex League. I can't remember how I found Apex actually, but it was probably through VRS or something like that. So I picked up on Apex League, and I joined the Apex, and I really enjoyed that. Really helped push me in terms of like focusing on the race and the clean racing that went with that. And then got invited to join this league as a result through that. With Tom, had some good battles with Tom on track. Andy and you and I probably battled on track a little bit as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, mainly racing GT cars. Reckless Abandon, we're running a bit of a sort of a casual Formula 4 league at the moment, which is quite good fun as well. But yeah, it's mainly been GT3 cars. Occasionally we're stupid and getting an LMP2, which of course we're all too slow to drive really properly. So but yeah, so yeah, and now I just do this all the time. I'm completely hooked. It's quite tragic, really.
No, I mean, obviously, I've seen sort of the progression that you've made through iRacing. So I do remember commentating on one of the Apex leagues that you were saying on, and you probably admit that you weren't the best at that time, but ever since then you've kept with it, and now you're sort of fighting up the front end of the AM class, certainly in this series. And it's by no means an easy feat with some of the drivers that we do have in there. It just shows how much you've progressed in there and doing it. What sort of equipment? You mentioned there that you've got the Logitech. What equipment are you using now? Because that certainly isn't a fold-up chair behind you, mate.
No, so it's definitely not a Logitech anymore. So I've got a SimMagic direct drive wheel. I build a direct drive base. I build my own wheels now. I got into building my own wheels, which is quite cool. So I try and build the wheel to match the car. I'm a bit geeky like that, so I do that.
Right, come on in. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's see one of your wheels.
Well, this is so. As you know, in Apex, I ran the Audi GT3. So I've got my Audi GT3 wheel is in the rig at the moment. So I've got
You
that.
built that from, or did you modify it from something else?
This was a mixture. But then I've got my. Bear with me a sec. Hang on.
Come on then.
See, that's where I just use my Formula wheel to go rallying, which doesn't quite work, to be fair.
So I'm running the Ferrari in the league, so there's my Ferrari wheel. So it's not too bad.
That's quite impressive. So you made that. So you made that from. Obviously, you clearly didn't make it from scratch. You
no, not from scratch. So still, get the files for free issue from Thingiverse, and then get all the components and put the thing together. So, well, proper nerdy hobby. This is. It's brilliant.
Well, you never know. There may be somebody in the chat needs a brand new wheel. Just hook up with Mr. Gill.
I was just thinking it's part of a business, that.
I was thinking that. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Guess what? We're going to have a prize next season of a David Gill wheel. That's what it's going to be.
I have to pay royalties to someone if I do that.
Certainly is. But obviously, we're 3 rounds into this championship. How are you finding it overall? And what have you been liking about the league? And obviously, looking forward to the next 9 rounds that are coming up. I mean, which rounds are you looking forward to? And obviously dreading.
Yeah, so this season so far has kind of mirrored what I've done in Apex, which has been an absolute nightmare at the first part of the season, and then hopefully I'll come strong in the second part of the season. As you know, like last 2 seasons of Apex, I came second to Russ Fowler, and previous to that, second to Tom Bingham. So I'm like, oh, here we go again. This is just flipping awful. So I've had a nightmare so far this season. The nice thing about this one is that my teammate Steve Pearce has joined this one, so it's been nice actually to do the league together, and we'll go out and do a bit of racecraft practice before the event and that kind of stuff, and have a chat about it. So that's been really nice actually about joining this event. I'm really looking forward to Nords. Same as Lydia said, actually, I've done a lot of laps at Nords, so I'm really hoping that lots of people haven't. And I'll either bin it off or I'll just wipe the floor with them. We've done some 24-hour Nords and some VLN races and stuff as well. So hopefully that will come good. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, at least in your league there isn't any Performance Link guys to beat you for that first place. So you might have a fighting chance in that league. There is some questions coming in. Let's see. I've even given you a business. I need some royalties from this. I think this is Mr. Tom Bingham is actually asking, can you make them for the DD2s?
Absolutely. Yeah. These, I mean, you can buy the quick release and just put them onto any wheel. So yeah, it's definitely. There you go,
Tom. You're the man you need to butter up now. But no, obviously, it's great to have you in the league. And one thing that's obviously taken me is the size of the grids. They're quite large, and being in the Anfield, you're right in the mix of the grids. How have you been finding that? Because normally in Apex, they're around about 30 cars max, and you're looking at 50 plus cars in this league. How's that been for you?
Yeah, quite chaotic. I think I found. I like the idea of putting the classes together, but then we find, coming up against other higher class cars that might be running slow, and there's a lot of overlap. So that's got really messy at points, and very, very busy. But it's all part of it. If you're faster, then get past, right? It's as simple as that. So
exactly.
So I've got no excuses.
So, Dave, have you got any questions there for the Daves? Not you karting.
Be surprised. I was going to go with the difference between your karting and your sim racing, because obviously you feel more comfortable in the sim. What makes you feel more comfortable in the sim compared to obviously the karting side?
So I'll be honest. I think when I was karting before I sim raced, I had no idea about the real mechanics behind racing and behind car handling, and actually sim racing has taught me so much. And since I've got back in a go-kart, I've done a race or have done races at Rye House and at Thruxton, and I'm 2 seconds a lap quicker, easily after doing sim racing. So it's taught me a huge amount about car handling. So I reckon if I were to get back in that kart league again now, that might actually be with the pack. It might be amazing. So,
well, you'd win it because nobody else is in it at the moment.
No one else is in it.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's very different. A car is different, but it does make you think about what the car is doing and why it's doing it, and be able to respond as a result. So, yeah, fascinating to see how much of a jump I made, just from that sort of
pre-COVID car thing to post-COVID. The next point was going to be about what you'd learned in the sim, whether you could translate it onto track. Because we see people like Lucas Ordonez, James, what's his name? James, who won the GT Academy stuff and World's Fastest Gamer, and we see them transfer the skills to a career. I'm not saying obviously anybody in Performance Link is trying to do that, but we can see the skills can be transferred either way. So, would you, if you could have like either way, would you prefer to go sim racing or would you prefer to go real racing?
I keep thinking about real racing, and then like people get hurt, and it costs. I've got friends who do real racing who just like they might as well just go in the garden and set fire to a bag of cash, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm not sure that I'll ever get into proper racing. It might be nice to do some, proper. Maybe guest on something. I've got a friend who runs a teams up in the north of England who maybe I'll jump in a car and do an event with them or something, but I don't think I'd ever like properly do it. It's just not too scary. I'm getting too old, David. I'm too self-conscious.
I've got to be honest. As soon as I had a kid, I lost a couple of tenths a second a lap because you start thinking, well, still got to look after the kid when I get home.
I think in iRacing it all goes out the window, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because they can sit there in a chair. It doesn't matter.
There's a written off Lambo. I'll just press the reset button. I think you can do that in real life.
Yeah, those type of things actually do sort of play on your mind when you're out in the real world racing, and don't. We see it in iRacing, don't we? The one who goes, "Oh, you drove into me," and there's arguments about it. And it's like, well, if you did that in real world, you'd be chucked out the building. So definitely something, as we see Dean Moke saying, "Love the luck of that Audi wheel." Another Spalding person. Are you from Spalding, Dave?
No idea what that refers to, but I'm sure we'll find out.
I was going to say, whoever is resulting to Spalding first, as long as it's not a football club, I can stay away.
I mean, you've certainly touted your business here. I think everyone's like,
I'm not in the business. I'm not honestly.
Yeah.
Bit of cash around the back.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting to find out about drivers, because obviously the only time we see you, we never see you. We normally hear you on the comms and bits and pieces of that. So it's always nice to see what the person looks like and see what's behind there. So where do you see your aspirations for this season? Obviously, I know they're quite high because you want to win. What latest equipment are you going to buy to make that happen for you?
It's going to build it.
I'm all done with equipment. I've got my. So I race in VR as well, which I love. I just absolutely, I get why people race on triples, but the VR immersion thing is just a really big thing for me. So I love that.
You actually drive VR, do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I always drive VR. I tried it on singles, and I haven't got room for triples. I'm in a little alcove sat here actually, so I haven't got room. I haven't got room for triples, so I can't do that. So I always race in VR.
We asked Lydia, do you suffer from any kind of motion sickness or anything, or are you just used to it?
I used to, but I did have. I tried Star Wars Squadrons. If anyone's ever tried that, and you're like flipping and all over the place, and that was, that was a bit. That was close. That was close. But no, not normally. I have no issue at all. No.
No, definitely. But no, Dave, thank you very much for joining us in the box to give us a little bit of insight into yourself, your love of the racing, and I can only wish you the best of luck. You've got a chance because no performance linkers in your class. You certainly got some quick people in that AM class that is going to be interesting racing at the front end of that AM field. Before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Obviously say hi to all the guys at Reckless Abandon. Thanks for the support, enjoying it. Massive shout to you guys though, because we run a small league. and that is a nightmare from an administration perspective, and we steward it and stuff as well. Massive respect to you guys. I think having filled the grid for this on the first season is just awesome. I think you've done an amazing job. Always going to have hiccups along the way, but big respect for you for putting this together, because I think it's awesome. So well done.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Dave. And honestly, we didn't pay Dave to say that. So thank you very much.
No, but you can. You can. That's fine.
No, you'll have a free wheel.
Definitely. But no, thanks for joining us, Dave, and good luck in the rest of the season. And we hopefully by the end of it, we'll see you on the top spot. But only time will tell, mate.
You're welcome. Just remember me when it comes around to those penalties. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, mate.
Yeah.
Right, depends what wheel I like. Yeah,
Depends when the paper comes through.
But no, thanks for joining us, Dave, and good luck.
Cheers,
and enjoy the penalties, mate. See you later.
Thank you.
So there was Mr. David Gill. I'm just looking in there. Scott Moak saying it's, I do like the driver interviews. They get a real good insight into drivers that you're on track with. No other league does this. I think it is quite important, to understand the drivers and, you had like the likes of Lydia, who's the only female that is currently in the league. So I'd welcome any female, just follow in Lydia's footstep. And, she took the plunge and is loving it at the moment. But it's good to see, because I've never met these guys before. We decided to do this, and it's been really good.
Yeah, it gives us great insight. And I mean, who knows that me and David could have crossed fields like 10 years ago for all we know, and we didn't. But it just shows you, because you don't know who's got kart. We've had two people, one who went into karting, come out of karting because of COVID, went into sim racing, learned so much that he can go back to karting and apply that. And then Lydia, who's literally at the start of her journey completely, and is more sort of trying to build herself very quickly into both sides of motorsport. So it is really interesting to meet these people. And if you do want to join us on the podcast, let us know. As long as you've got a camera and a microphone and we can understand you, it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. And, now on to the bit we all love to hate. It's looking over the penalties. And luckily, there's not that many. Well, I'll say there's only 8 that we're going to look at.
I'm half debating whether we leave that one, which we talked about doing first, till last, so everyone stays tuned.
Maybe. I'm sure that they'll all get involved anyway with it. So... It's going to be interesting to see on that. So let's see if I can get this up now. First time. Yay! There we go. Look.
And don't forget the music this week.
I won't forget the music this week. Everyone likes a little bit of music. Let's put this on.
Need something to drone us out.
Yeah. Don't know what you're trying to say, Dave. Shocking.
I meant me.
There we go. So let's crack. So we've got our first one is Matthew Gerard with Lewis McCavery. Top 12, fastback SEs, contact between myself and Steve McCavery. Steve had a run on me through there. He thinks it's a bit of net code, but he just wanted to make sure. So let's have a scan, see if we can find that. We may look at that other one a little bit later. I think the starting grid.
Yes.
Let's get warmed up with a few of these. So.
And also, if anybody has put anything in the customer feedback, we will look at that at the end of all of this, because obviously the complaints come first.
They do. We've got to get them out of the way. The spark of debate.
We actually kind of enjoy giving you all penalties, to be fair.
You do, mate.
I love it.
Right, so where is it? So it must be fast S's. Must be the Magus and Beckers. Let's have a look. Where's this?
There's lap 12. It's contact between myself and Steve. Steve had a run on me. There's a run on him. Let's put a space between us, but netcode, can we confirm? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that mile off that.
It is netcode, but I do debate there would be contact anyway, because of the line that's coming across. But I also, because Steve was quite far alongside you. Like at that point where we paused there, I would say actually that's just two people going hard at it, and in the end, actually Matthew's the one who loses out. Oh, no, okay, Steve does go round, but I think it was just two people going hard at it. Maybe if the netcode wasn't there, it wouldn't be such a bounce, and the two cars would spin. So I looking at that, I would just tell both drivers to be a little bit more careful in future.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it, Matthew probably should have given a little bit more room. You could see him alongside of it. There was netcode, and I think that's basically it's like a magnet in it, and on opposite poles, it just pushes you both away. So yeah, that is a bit of netcode, but obviously for future ref,
definitely netcode there.
Yeah, you should give a little bit more room. So that is a racing incident.
Yeah. While Andy finds the next one, I'd just say there, like sort of Stephen was further enough alongside you, Matt. So if you would have got the warning that he would have been there. So actually, you coming straight across like that was always going to bring a little bit of contact.
Certainly was, right. So I'm looking for Mr. Wolf.
Hey, Mr. Wolf, you're straight in there.
Lap 19.
Pit exit not going after a limiter line. Holding me up. So it's on the exit of a pit lane.
Yeah. Look, it was interesting to see this one because I read it and I was like, don't know how you could give a penalty somebody not getting off the limiter.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah, we'll have a watch. Let's forward it a bit.
Yeah, it's on for me. It's on Lydia to obviously get off a limiter, but we can't penalise her for it.
No, I don't think we can. I think that'd be a bit harsh if we did. Where is Lydia? Let's find out what happened. Why? Let's have a look. Where is our Lydia here? There she is. Inside an SR car. There we go. Do.
Quite a long stop,
isn't it? What happened to Lydia here? All right, there's another car.
So she's tried to get out of the way of cars quickly, found a space, and then Max has obviously got off the limiter, and so she's tried to get. She's got spooked by the other two cars. Let them through, and then can't see Max because of the safety cars actually in the way, and. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
But she is off the limit, so.
Yeah, they were going quite quick there, obviously, weren't they? Where's it come out? Oh, there it is.
I can understand why Max feels she wasn't off the limiter, but it looks like she was.
Yeah. I've lost it there, so. Yeah, I think obviously just one for Lydia.
She's in the pit lane now, so you just fast forward it and it'll come up.
We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It's probably, I don't know if obviously Lydia, if you knew, you can actually come out and go obviously up to the line. You can actually be inside another car it's when you cross that line, I think.
Like it is. Max Speed has just said, a rookie just learning the ropes and trying not to get in the way. It is just literally like oh my god, I want to get out of the way because I don't want to cause issues and whatever. And actually just, if she carried on out, it's because they were so close.
I think that was very considerate, actually.
Yeah,
I know a lot of other people would not have given that space up there. And
that reverse view shows that she would never have seen Max in the rear view anyway.
No, well, there was two cars that were all over the place. So
yeah, you were looking at relative in all the cars. Yeah, I get it, Lydia. There's not a penalty in that. I understand why Max might have felt at the time, but there's not.
Yeah, I mean, them other two cars, obviously, she was giving way to them, which I think is very good sportsman. So there,
So
but
next
unfortunately,
up-
obviously, starting slow. So next up, we've got.
Mr. Gill.
No, we haven't. We've got Jacob Behrens. Oh, yes, we
Have
have.
you?
Sorry, I
No,
missed one.
Mr. Gill. Gordon
missed
Haugen, Mr. Gill.
Ah, that one I.
Lap 4. There's Mr. Gill, yeah. Lap 4. Looking
turn
at
number 1.
turn 1.
Forces me off the track.
Forced me off the track.
I think we saw this one.
I've got a feeling we had a quick look at this, yeah.
2x2 wide going into Abbey is probably not the best of action.
Could we see on board with Gordon? Yeah, he doesn't straighten the car or anything.
No.
It's like, I know you're there, I'm trying to keep it as, if I
he does,
wheel, he's as much as he can.
Yeah, I mean, obviously going side by side into Abbey is always a bad idea anyway, because the car on the outside will always sort of be pushed slightly wide on it because
yeah, I mean,
because of the nature of the
I don't know how Gordon races, but if you look at this cockpit view, he just doesn't, he can't, if you go until he actually sees David, you'd only see David there, you're already at the corner, you can't slow down that much more, or you could have cars in the back of you on that corner.
I mean,
There's a little bit more space. No, there's a little bit more space Gordon could have tried to give, but I get why David Gill feels aggrieved, but I would say
you can hear the engine tone.
Yeah, he's down to fourth gear.
He's not full throttling. He's almost like idling around the corner when you hear it. There, and then sort of steadily applying the pressure there. So, and it's not like he's right pushed.
Yeah, I do agree, David. He technically has the call on you, but in terms of backing out. But then on the outside, he wouldn't have seen you till last minute. If he'd stamped on the brakes, whoever that is behind would have been right into the back of him, probably. Yeah, that's a tough one. I get where you're coming from, Dave. I really do.
I mean, if you look here, I think, Dave, if you went out wide, you would have both gone through the corner, but you seem to sort of cut in a little bit.
So I was going to say, try on board with Dave, because obviously we know Dave's got VR, but we don't take it. We shouldn't really take that into account because obviously you're looking across. But at that point, you don't know, unless you're literally looking across, you don't know he's there. You know he's alongside, but that's about it. So you will both have. The overtake probably started back at the start-finish line, to be honest, Max. It was they were side by side out the final corner. Like, David's got the run. Don't blame him going for this move. He's got the slipstream, but then Gordon picks up the slipstream off the other car. And it's almost like Gordon backs out of it and then realises he's actually still in the battle with Dave.
I mean, that is just hard racing, I think, around Abbey. It's obviously quite treacherous going side by side anyway. And I don't think very rarely have I seen a move going around Abbey that's clean with no contact in there. It's just one of them corners, isn't it?
This is a real difficult one because I can see where both drivers are coming from on this. It's is it enough to penalise? I mean, does David actually, apart from losing that position, does he lose out from it?
I think.
Obviously, he picks the X's up. I get that, but
yeah,
he loses one position.
One position.
To. Oh, it matters to who, but. Because technically Gordon doesn't come off the racing line. And to be able to do it that tight into the corner and stay on the racing line is pretty impressive, to be fair. But does it?
I'm in the tendency to agree. It was hard. It was hard racing there because there could have been a little bit more room. Yeah, you would have been side by side. I suppose from both quarters that maybe a little bit more room could have been given. As in,
I kind of feel
wide. I think we saw on board with Gordon that when he went round the corner, he wasn't full. If he was full throttle going around that corner, there's no chance that he would have brought you on the outside. But because he was sort of like coasting and didn't really accelerate through the corner, which is what you do through Abbey, he was obviously trying to not make an incident there, but unfortunately, due to the angle that he was at, he was always going to come out wide. I think.
It's like without the contact, is there car's width, and there's not. That's where I think it could be. That's where I go. Yeah, I could see where David would call for a penalty on that because Gordon isn't full throttle, but he still doesn't technically leave a car's width. It's the contact that makes him.
Well, I mean, there's still all this area here. The normal racing line. If we watch one of the cars that are going around there singly, so maybe the BM in front. So if we watch that BM here, watch his line where on his exit.
Yeah,
that's the normal racing line, and Gordon is not on that because he knows that David's there, and unfortunately, there is contact made between the two.
Yeah,
unfortunately, pushes David off. So I think Gordon was trying to do his best to not make an incident because these cars go around the normal racing line around. Obviously, Gordon being on the inside, he's not on the outside. I think he's trying his best, so I think it would be harsh.
I think it's that borderline that goes towards a non-penalty, but doesn't mean drivers go off doing that because actually this type of incident, everything is different because it's whether you got throttle pinned, whether you got brake, whether you got turning.
Yeah, it was reckless. Like you were saying, he was going around the corner and he was on full throttle. The revs were way up high. Yeah. He had gone down the gear and was doing that. Then he's basically trying to push you off. But because he's going into the corner, there's no acceleration around that.
Well, he's down to fourth gear in that corner.
Exactly. I think
it's a BMW in fifth round. Just BMW in front.
Yeah, it's a fifth gear corner. Oh.
Yeah. There we go. Steve Pearce. So he goes up. He'll go up to fifth gear.
It is a fifth gear corner.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd take it in fifth.
Yeah. See, that's the normal racing line around there. You literally take all that.
So fourth and no revs. Yeah, I would borderline. I'll be on the border of let's just be a bit more careful next time. A bit like the first one, Yeah, I think so. I'm in tendency to agree with that. So it'd be a bit harsh, I think, to give a penalty for that. Like I said, Dave, if he was accelerating around there and he was literally going on the racing line when he knew you were blatantly alongside him, then I would have given him a penalty for obviously the fact that he would have known what he was doing. But because he went around that corner, he went down to fourth gear, he wasn't on the accelerator, and basically trying to keep his line. He did leave a little bit of room, but not quite fully a car one. And unfortunately, you hit right on after the apex, which pushed you off slightly. So, and just going back to as we got David Gill on the subject, going back to what he used to kart in. My job used to be to make these calls without all of this. I'd have to see it live, and that is it. So, this is much better where I can rewind and bounce ideas off people rather than just radio through. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a penalty. So we don't get it in the neck as hard either.
Okay, so this is Jacob Behrens, Matt Loveridge, exit of turn 3. 2 cars had an incident ahead. Car 12 had to take avoided action. Car 32 kept the throttle pinned and tried to take the inside into turn 4. He did not audibly seem to lift and shift up as he ran the rear of the car 12. So let's have a look. Well, car 12 is Jacob. Where is he behind? He must be behind. No. Yeah, there he is. Let's watch it with full screen so we can see.
So, hang on. Sorry, I was reading the quote at the same time I wasn't watching. So let's just watch first. This is Matt. Incident happens. Tries to avoid it. See, from there, it doesn't even look like it's contact.
No.
Let me just read it. Exit turn 2 cars on an incident. Car 12 has to take avoid action. Car 32 kept the turtle pinned and tried to take the inside line into turn 4. He did not seem to lift or shift up as he ran. Right. Okay.
I think it does. I think you can see if we look on his cockpit. He's now accelerating there after. So he goes past the incident, not on throttle. And then I think, I'm not sure, let's have a look on board.
I was going to say, the other thing you could do is look from the chase cam on whether there's any brake lights. Chopper cam might be a good one. So you might be able to see if it's... So this is Jacob. Voids. Net code. There's net code in that, because that's why I wondered with Matt why when we're on board
it looked like you didn't even hit him.
It looked like you didn't even hit him. I would go. You should be able to look at the rear left camera, and that will tell us whether there's a hit. Let's keep going through them. Oh, well, that's the gearbox. There we go. See, that's net code.
There's no damage at all on the front of that Porsche as well.
I do agree with some people, but it is.
See if I can.
To be fair, Team Bear Pope, he wasn't straight back on it.
No.
He really wasn't. But I do understand where you're coming from in a little bit more care.
There should have been, but obviously once you're past the incident, then you know.
Yeah, I mean the thing was. It wasn't Mr. Barron's like sort of going past the incident. He was actually part of the incident trying to recover. I don't understand. You know, that's no blame on him. I'm just saying that's why the speed was so quick. Now, I would say with this. Now, obviously, normally we say level 2 for big damage or anything like that. I would say this is a maximum of level 1, just for undue care and attention. But he has took a relative amount of due care and attention.
I think he has. I mean,
unlike the person behind who I think ends up in the crash.
Yeah. Obviously, Jacob's going to be scrubbing more speed because he's gone further into the, whereas Matt has come off it, so he is going to be having that extra bit of speed. And you can see there's no real contact. It is the push out of good old net code.
I mean, what doesn't help for the Ford is obviously he gets a bit of wheel spin to sort of. Paul, there wouldn't have been a yellow flag by the time he got there. It doesn't come out that quick in iRacing. He's already in the corner by the time the spin's happening. He probably didn't brake, but he was going so slow he wouldn't be on the brakes at that stage.
I mean, if you look at the cockpit, if you look at this coming up, let me.
Oh, you can see his speed at the bottom.
Let me pause the wonderful music so we can.
Actually, that's one point. We could see what his speed was out of that corner on another lap, and if it was quicker than.
Well, it will be because I mean, if we turn the music off there, so we can hear the engine notes. I mean, he's not accelerating through the corner.
No, he accelerates about there because you start to see the rev lights come on. But obviously, where the Ford is going at that time, he's thinking that gap's going to open up and I could go for it. People are saying, did he brake? I don't think he needed to brake, honestly, because he wasn't going that quickly.
He was aware. I suppose he was aware of the car.
He was aware of the crash. He got
accident.
past the crash. If he had hit the brakes, there's a whole pack of cars behind him about to slam in the back of him. And he's aware of it because he's steering away from it. Maybe he didn't expect the Ford to come across so quickly, and that's where he's because obviously it got a little bit of wheel spin. You can see the tyre marks.
He scrubs his speed off quite a lot as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And obviously, he's looking like he's going in. He's down to like 50 k's an hour here, trying to accelerate away.
Yeah. I mean, you watch on board with the Ford, and you go in. But when you get to see the rest of it, I get that about predicting where he's going, but instead of waiting. But let's be honest, we've got a 50-car grid. How many of them would have waited? Nobody would have waited. You're racing. So you would have took due care and attention, but you wouldn't. I mean, if you look behind, another car, actually, the red Porsche actually ends up in the accident.
It does, yeah.
Whoever that is. So it's very difficult to say Matt should have waited when the car behind has had even more warning, maybe even got a flag, and ends up in the back.
Yeah, you can see like he sort of snakes it out the corner because he's going to go into the accident. He brakes hard and then probably puts full throttle, and then here you can see him starting to give a little bit of side spin quite aggressively.
Yeah, because you can see Matt's car does point towards where the Ford is now. He comes out the corner like he's going to go there and then has to switch across.
I mean, there's no damage. The other thing is for the netcode bit is there's zero damage on that Porsche. You know,
I mean, if you pause it there, if you pause it on the contact and bring the camera around, you'll see this. Well, you could just use chase and well, there you go. That's. Can we go back just a touch? Go on. If you move around a bit more, if you twist it, does it twist?
Yeah, I think it does, but not that
there
way.
we are. That's it. Y-axis. That's it. That's perfect. And just play it slowly. So you see, he's already gone to go over the other side of the Ford, realises the Ford's coming across, and then he would have cleared that.
Yeah, he would have.
He would have cleared that in real life. It's the net code that's affected.
You can see it there.
You see the Porsche doesn't. Yeah, the Porsche doesn't bend, and the Ford does.
No contact. Hit there on the back net code. Bloody net code, man. Such a pain, isn't it?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's close, but without net
it's
code,
close, but there's no
Ford isn't going around.
Physical contact, and he's always turning around this way. It's bad luck again, isn't it? Bloody net code.
I get what people are saying about Porsche behind. We're not obviously discussing that, but I would also say, but that Porsche has gone in there a little bit more careful.
Well, let's have a look. Obviously, it's not an incident.
It's not what we're dealing with. No.
Penalised.
Two places back.
Forward. This one. It's
Kim.
Let's have a look at the far chase. So this is probably how not to do it. So good example. So it's coming in. You'll be able to see the cars. Let's have a look on board.
Yeah, the speed isn't scrubbing off any more than it would do. He's drifting out wide anyway. Like he's literally heading for the accident, realises it, and then tries to steer away. So even if people are saying due care and attention for the car in front, but actually, I know what people are saying. Worse decisions don't make bad decisions, right? But what I'm saying is there.
Why can't we see?
Kim was going straight for the accident. There was no backing off there.
No. I think he was in no man because he was going in quite hot and obviously thinking around.
I've seen it, but it's not even a penalty discussion anyway because we're not even discussing it. But I think
I'm gonna go Racing Instinct because it's clearly net code. He was turning away from him.
Yeah.
I think it's just unlucky.
If the net code hadn't been there, I would have said penalty.
Probably a level 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of net code.
Also, remember, people, you are allowed to appeal these to independent adjudicators if you really want. But on my call, I would say net code.
The person we shall not name, we'll scrub them out. Next one is Scotty Mokes from Aaron Powell, lap number 2, turn 3, punted. Let's have a look. Mr. Mokes. 2, turn 3. That is always a tricky corner, isn't it? Turn 3 when you get into the inner part around the village section. Right, so. Sorry. Lap 3. 2. No. Yeah, lap 2. Well, why is it not letting me? Come on. Oh, maybe if I take
Dean says this is clear cut. Well, it will be when we find it. Yeah, I think this is the one we had on stream. Hello. Yes, well, I don't think we need to replay this too many times, do we, Aaron?
Let's just watch it and bask and.
We'll watch it back a few times just to make Scott feel brilliant about his drive back through the field. But
yeah, it's just too hot in today, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a little too hot, and I mean, I don't know if he tries to avoid it. We'll have a look from cockpit. But just goes in. You know, Scott's had to be a little bit more careful because the car behind. It's not intentional.
It's not.
But it's a penalty. Let's put it this way: why would you do something intentional in a corner while you're steering and that you're going to be spun off? You're going to lose out. That's the end of it. So there's no reason for it to be intentional. It's just a misjudgment. Scott's had to go a little bit slower through the corner than Aaron has expected because of a car in front. Aaron doesn't have that car in front. Gets a good run through, and yeah, too much speed early on in the race. Don't get me wrong. I think Aaron probably would have. Would he? No, he would have gone off. Yeah. He would have gone off.
A little bit too quick. These super quick pros, that's what it is.
Yeah, so I think this is straight to just what level of penalty?
What are you going, mate?
I'm just trying to think of other ones to keep things consistent. Yeah. Well, it's definitely a level 1. Sorry, Aaron. It's definitely a level 1 at least.
Let's consult the big Bible.
Yeah, it's a level 1 or level 2. You know, it's not a level 3. It's not. You know, we've already given level 3 out this season because of something that was very intentional. So that's sort of the level for level 3. And we don't want to put. You know, we're not here to put people off the championship. So, you know, it has to be terrible for level 3.
Nah.
As Andy finds page 69 of the rulebook.
Damn me for making them comprehensive.
Hey, apparently not comprehensive enough, as we'll find out in a bit.
They are. It's just right. Where are they? Penalty levels. Stage 2 is awarded for causing extensive damage to another car in the form of loss of position and time, changing racing line, or an aggressive manner under braking. Stage 1 can be awarded for obstruction in qualifying during the race. Minor incidents that don't meet the stage 2 criteria could incur stage 1, such as hitting somebody off the track aggressively from the side, causing loss of positions.
I would say going off that is level 2 because it's not just loss of positions. You know, they've literally spun out.
I mean, how many positions does they both lose? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's a numerous positions, isn't it? It's not just a bump and run. It's
no.
And yeah, Aaron, you lost a load out of it too. I know you did, but
Yeah.
just one of them, innit?
So we've got level 2 then, yeah? Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah, agreed here. Page 69, Article 4.2. Now, we're not as comprehensive as the FAA, who tell you somebody's done something wrong and then don't actually get back to you with what the penalty is. Anyway.
Next one, Daniel Slater on Simeon Nordercliffe. We need to make sure that we're saying his name right, 'cause I'm pretty sure we're not. I think
If we're not saying your name right,
probably absolutely murdering his name. So all we can do, I'm gonna make my mission to find out if we are or not.
lap 2, turn 5. I was a bit slower out of turn 4 because nobody around me lifted when there was a 3-car crash. We've just seen the 3 cars. Simeon is overtaken on the outside of turn 5 but drifts out and hits me. So this is on. I've got a feeling we saw this. We had a quick look at this one on the night as well.
Have a look.
Because it's out onto Wellington Straight. I wasn't mentioning any food budget, Max Wolf. Don't worry.
Wow.
Oh, okay. There's another accident around here. Okay, so we didn't see the accident. Yeah, there we go. So Simeon has a quick little look. Oh, I'm guessing Simeon is the one with the white Porsche. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I think looking at it, it's one we shall not name. So it's coming out. Has he got a damaged car? Certainly looks like it.
He's trying to stay on the circuit and hit the brakes. Yeah, I think it is when he come out the pits. To be honest, Max. So he's probably got cold tyres as well because he changed them straight away because he hadn't turned it off. But yeah, I think personally he's trying to stay out the way, and obviously he's ended up getting, it's ended up bulking everybody. And I don't think if you go on board with Simeon, I don't think he can see the McLaren. Even if you go back a bit, see he's only just seen the McLaren there. But if you go back a bit and play from here, like it's all the confusion here. He tries to get out of it. He still can't see the McLaren. 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 There. He doesn't see the McLaren until he's already alongside the other car. Yeah, I mean, McLaren just pops up from nowhere according to him.
Yeah, he's on the right there, isn't he?
Yeah.
McLaren?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You just can't see him. Yeah, suddenly McLaren, as somebody says, yeah.
Suddenly, McLaren.
Suddenly, McLaren is going slower than Daniel Ricciardo. Sorry to any Aussies watching. Yeah, I think there's possibly a bit of undue care and attention, but is it penalisable? Because obviously he's off throttle now. That's where you can see the flames coming out. That's part of the McLaren. Yeah. Well, Daniel's trying to stay out of the way.
We're trying to avoid, isn't he?
Yeah. And obviously Simeon doesn't even know. He's wondering. He's probably wondering why you're braking. To be fair.
Or why you're going so slow.
Yeah. And then suddenly sees the McLaren. It's like, no, okay. On a fast corner, you're going really slow. Why? And then he sees the McLaren.
Oh, he has got a car on the inside. I was just thinking, why is he going so?
You play it from there, like.
Why is he going so tight into that corner? Why does he not come out?
I would admit there could be a bit of a lift there. It's a bit like, I think we're going back to where a bit of due care and attention would have avoided that. But it's Simeon trying to gain positions as quickly as he can. You know, it's early laps. You don't want to get stuck in a bit of a... Yeah, it is a match trip by the McLaren. It's like, I'm here.
I know, it's like... Well, I mean, you can see the angle there. He clearly didn't know that McLaren was there.
At no point could you see the silver of McLaren.
No, because obviously when you're coming in, so we've got Daniel obviously braking to not hit the McLaren.
Yeah, I mean, at that point we've paused it. You know, Team Bear Poips could have followed the car immediately ahead. Could have done, but at that point, he's actually carrying a lot more speed than that Porsche. He's not going to want to slam on the brakes because he'll lose so much in that straight. So it's avoid that Porsche, and then obviously the two are to try to stay on the track around the outside. So all of a sudden it sharpens up.
Yeah, because if that car was there, so if that car was rubbed out, then the BMW would be a lot quicker. And I think the Porsche would both be okay. So you can see they're not close enough here, not close enough here. It's when the BM brakes that's when the BM comes back to the Porsche.
Yeah,
you even see him brake here. I'm sure
and that's not the BM's fault either, because I mean he's
no. It was the McLaren's going extremely slow. There you can see his brakes coming on.
Yeah, I honestly think it's the McLaren trying to get out of the way. The BMW tries to avoid the McLaren, and the Porsche doesn't even know the McLaren's there.
Yeah, I think so.
So he commits to a line, and then once he's committed to it, the McLaren appears.
Yeah, because if we play at normal speed, it's a gap, nothing. Whoa, what's going on there? Sort of thing. So yeah, I think that is...
If it had been at full pace, and the McLaren wasn't there, you'd have a call on this penalty. Just to clear that up. You know, if the McLaren wasn't there and you weren't having to back off for it, and it was at full pace, you would have something there for being pushed off the track. But that is... I would call that... I would go along with what we did for the netcode one. It was a bit more due care and attention by the other drivers, but not a huge amount done wrong.
Yeah, I think it's unlucky. I'd go along with the racing incident on that.
Yeah.
If that McLaren wasn't there, the BM would be further in front, and there may have been the gap there for them to come out, and the Porsche, obviously, because the McLaren was going quite slow on the exit there. Okay. And last but not least, Matty Chambers with Victor.
No. Nicholas Gronstrom.
Gee. Nicholas Gronstrom on Mr. Gill. Alright, let's have a look at this one. There he is. Lap 10, turn 16. David drives into the rear of me whilst turning.
Ooh.
What?
I was about to say, I would say you almost, you can see the move coming, but it's just a late move.
It is, but they're going into the corner. He's halfway up his car.
Yeah.
So
you began the call of car left.
Yeah, so I think Nick.
Netcode.
Yeah.
Obviously, David disappears, but that is definitely. If you wind it back slowly, there's definitely netcode just as the.
Well, you can't even see him touching.
Yeah, if you do it really slow. Yeah, look. Now. As David does his magician act.
Get a better internet connection. You've got Top Gear, David, and
build yourself an internet connection.
Get an internet connection.
little hamster on a wheel.
Get a top internet connection.
Yeah, little hamster on a wheel.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think one thing we could say on this is that he came up the inside. He had the opportunity to make the passing move here. Nicholas could have given him more room. He was actually closing the door here on David, and then basically netcode happened and spun out. But I think for me is Nicholas could have given him a little bit more room on the inside because he was there. Because he would have had the inside for the next corner if he gave him that any.
Yeah, I agree with Bear Pope that actually without a netcode we probably would have both made it through anyway. Because David has backed out of that point. So the Porsche, if you watch just before David disappears, he literally, you can see the speed is so much slower that he's actually because he's longside, he's backed out, he's letting it go.
You can see him moving backwards from there. So he's round about the mid quarter panel at the front, so round here of the car. But then by the time it comes to the contact, he's right at the back of the car.
Yeah, I would say he is backing out of that, and the netcode causes a spin.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, that was 3 netcodes we've had this race.
Yeah. It's small margins when you get to netcode, and this is what we've said on previous ones where we've said it's sim racing. You just all need to give yourselves just that little bit more room because netcode does come in. Skylink ping is not something you want. No, actually, Skylink is probably not something you definitely want. Yeah. You might be aiming some things in different directions, which they shouldn't be doing. So because we know what Skylink are linked to at the moment.
You blink more than an Australian. Ooh. Is that David's internet connection there you're talking about?
Moving to Albuquerque in March. All will be good. Yeah, it's all right for some, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know how quick. Is that Portugal? I was going to say if it is, I don't know how quick Portuguese mice run, but anyway. Yeah, I would say I'd put that.
It's not Portugal.
Netcode.
Yeah, it's definitely netcode on that. So the last but not least, a couple of Matty Chambers. Number 18. Oh yeah. Where is it? Oh, pit entry. No, there we go. Having been spun already by another car, he reverses, then moves forward again as I came through the pit entry.
Okay. Pit entry. End of the race.
End of that. In fact, why don't I just do this? Alright.
Here we go.
Ooh.
So it was you actually pitting Matty. Okay. He comes into pits. Car spun out. Oh, is he rejoining?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Who's been a naughty boy? I mean, it's hard to rejoin there anyway because people are trying to rejoin from pits. But who we got? Mr. Victor. Come on. Yeah, he's just trying to. Smallest of touches as well.
Yeah, but I mean, Victor can see him coming down.
Yeah, I think he gets punted by a Olympus Esports BMW by the looks of it. Or is that a Porsche? That isn't Mr. Cope, is it?
No. Oh, Mr. Cope.
Oh, dearie me.
Clean race, Mr. Cope.
We said it had been a perfect drive.
we found the niche in his way of looking in. I don't know.
No, agree. You can't tell the approaching car. It is on his relative, but you just have to be that extra careful at that stage. But then
you should be able to still see him on his relative, I think. But
yeah, but he wouldn't have known he was pitting. He could have been out on track.
Yeah.
Thomas Cope has left for chat.
I mean, it's up to you as the spinning car to make sure your rejoin is good, you know. And obviously, looking at your relative, you would have seen that car around you, so you would have known there'd been a car.
You'd know this car close.
Stop, but then he starts moving forward. Matty is over as far as he can without being on the grass, gets tagged, and then basically...
I would also point out that Thomas has decided to pit, because obviously he's punted you out. But in terms of the actual... it's been a murder.
All I can say, Matty, is lucky you were going in and not going out, because it looks like your steering was knacked.
I would also be stating, why on earth have we not had an appeal off Victor Lind?
Yeah,
Thomas Cope, you've got away with one.
Steering there, Matty.
You have got away with.
That's from the practice at Sebring, that steering angle there.
Yeah.
After turn number 3. Okay,
yeah, I think we're probably looking at level 1 for Victor, just because it's. If anything, I'm not sure.
I would disagree.
You think higher?
Yeah. I mean, stage 3 penalty can be awarded for driving recklessly, such as rejoining the track in an unsafe manner, brake checking, causing a collision due to attempting to drive excessively damaged car, going late into a corner.
Mr. Cope saying he did apologise. Yeah, but if we could all apologise for murder, nobody would be in prison.
Exactly, Mr. Cope. Just take it on the chin that you did wrong.
Take it on the chin that Victor didn't penalise you.
Yes, you were lucky boy.
Because that one would have been undue care and attention, taking somebody out and damaging their race, which would have been a level 2.
I would say that as at least a level 2, if not a level 3.
Personally, I would probably go level 2 max, because I just think the obscurity comes in that you don't. I know you should judge whether a car's nearby, but Tom, we're not going to give you a 10-second penalty when you had a 14-second lead.
That's why you said it.
What did you want to?
The problem you've got to think of, I think you're looking at it because it's in the pit lane.
Yeah,
he gets in, he doesn't lose top, but if that was out on track and somebody did that, that's a level 3 all day.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with a level 2, because
it's in the pits.
Because
that's mitigating. That's the mitigating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mitigating because you have the relative, but it doesn't say Matty's coming into the pits as such. You know, he could be out on track and he's thinking, I'll take the chance that I can get out. It's the smallest of movements as well. It's not like it's different.
I mean, there is quite...
I mean, does Matty back off?
Matty doesn't have to back off.
No, I'm not saying he has to, but you can see half the pit lane's blocked. So, in terms of like me coming into pits, if I saw a car in the middle of a track blocking half the track, I would be backing off a little bit more. Yeah, of course you'd take a 10-second penalty, Tom. Go away. You're lucky you're not on the list.
Okay, so are we going to say level 2 then?
I mean, if you're 100% set on the level.
Well,
3,
what are you set on then? Are you set on
like I'm on a high level 2. Like I get where you're coming from with level 3.
No, I'm saying it's a level 2, and I think the mitigating circumstances why it's not a level 3 is because it's in the pit lane.
Fair Pope. I think he does give it enough chance to look at the relative. I think there's time there where the Lamborghini stopped, where he's obviously looking at the relative.
Can I go on the blimp? Will that see better? No.
Yeah, exactly. That's the mitigating. I'm across the pit lane. It's not as wide as a track. I need to get out of the way.
Yeah, so I think he could have looked left or looked at his...
but then we could have been looking at a Matty Chambers win.
We could have.
To be fair, you've done pretty.
Seconds.
This explains why Matty was 14 seconds behind all of a sudden.
It does actually, yeah, because we never saw. A lot of time there, wasn't it? So, right. So I think a level 2 on that one. is a fair one. It's not a level 3 because there's mitigating circumstances being that it is the pit lane, so it's a bit harder to.
Yeah, he's got to try and move at some point. Yeah, like you're saying, cockpit view, it could look like he's completely blocking the whole pit lane and wants to get out of the way, but it would never have happened without that perfect drive by Thomas Cope.
Dodgy Cope, we're going to call him now.
He's getting away with.
So, down to the one at the start that's hot discussions.
I think with this one, obviously, we must make it clear that actually there was no penalties. We looked through it on the night just to try and, because we were still on at the time, and we'll clear up everything in a minute, but there was never going to be a penalty for this.
No, definitely not. Right, so obviously this is the AMP, which is at the back of the field.
Rookies.
Now, let's watch.
It was the rookies.
Yes, the AMs and rookies.
The gap between AMs and rookies,
yeah. But
now I will
show
just
you
say
how it's definitely done
before you press play. Now, my understanding of the rules was that if you want to, as a pole position holder, you can leave a 5-second gap or up to a 5-second gap between you and the next class to avoid. But the difference here is the accumulation of when you go. Like, for example, with me, you go when you get to the start line, whereas it seems like some people have understood it as you go when the light goes green. The light only goes green for the pro drivers because they're the ones crossing the line. Yeah. So for me, everybody else could wait, and in my mind, I don't write rules, so obviously it's between Andy and Tom. But for me, it is a situation where the drivers don't go. It's like a touring car safety car. You don't race until the start finish line.
Yeah. This is to all class, but this is a perfect sort of illustration. We don't enforce the gaps between the classes. Now, we didn't want to do that to the thingy. Now it's up to the pole sitter if he wants to have a gap between the classes, which makes sense, but we weren't going to enforce the gap. Now, what you got to be aware of, guys, is that you're not racing the players, the drivers in front for points. You're racing in your class. So if you leave a 10, 15, 20, 30 second gap between you and the AMs, it's not affecting anybody else in your class. I mean, obviously 30 seconds is a bit excessive, but what I'm trying to say is you're not affecting anybody in your class if you are 5 seconds, whatever seconds behind the class in front, because this championship is based on points, and the reason why it was based on points was exactly this, is to make sure that you have close knit packed racing, but also that there's no recklessness from a lower class trying to get past a higher class, because there's no real need to be able to do that. So what we'll have a look here is probably, it's a good illustration. I mean, can I zoom out here? Let's see if I can zoom out. So see, what's it on music? Can't move the chopper then. Far chase. So, I mean, look, the gap there is probably that's probably a good 15 seconds. You know, there's absolutely no need. These guys are fighting for the points, and these guys, so you're all in your separate little classes that you can do. So you can see here, they're going there. They would literally not that far off getting the green light there. So there's a big enough gap to be able to have the thing, and then it's nice and clean. So that's probably a good way to do it. That's a nice big gap. Yeah. There was a nice gap in class, you know, and the good thing is the rest of the field respected the pole sitter as well. So you can sort of see here that the guy on this side is not forcing the pace. He's letting the pole sitter take the pace, and I think that's Max, isn't it? Yeah, well, good job there, Max. Is he's not trying to push the pace. He's letting the pole sitter Patrick take the control of the field, and the rest of the drivers are just feeding in behind it. There's no need to push it because
you're only fighting with pole man.
Exactly, but we can sort of see further back here in this picture. So.
Just to reply to Rockstar, what Tom said in the driver's briefing, where it's 5:10, it doesn't really matter as long as you're not making it so that the pros are going to be right on the rear of the rookies as they start. So, if you wanted and you really wanted to leave a 15-second gap, that's your choice. But, we said 5 to 10 seconds is reasonable because actually this is something that the drivers all asked for. So they could be in their own classes to race. So we did it because, the team did it because the drivers asked for it.
This is what caused, and we'll get onto the incident here very shortly here of what happened further back. But this is how we get this. I mean, everybody knows Silverstone, everyone knows Cops. But this first corner here is an extremely slow corner. When you're racing full out, you're coming down there in like 4/5 gear down into second to try and take this first corner. Now, the problem we had here, so this is the AM class leader, just this one here, and this is the back end of the pro. So it's literally right on the tail. So we'll see what happens here. Coming up to there. There's the pros well out in front there, going around Cops there. So and then basically you've got an AM right next to a pro AM here. And what it does, further back in the field, it then starts concertinaing up this corner here. So these are still all the AMs. And the issue that was sort of raised and caused the topic of conversation, shall we say, in the chat. Look further back. Okay, so this is the AM field. This is the AM field. So you can see there that this is the front end of the rookie. We'll take it back further. Now, we saw. So this is how it all landed up. So Lydia is the lead AM driver here. We saw in the Pro Am, basically the second place driver, who was Max at that time, giving the space and letting the pole sitter dictate the pace. The AMs did the same. The pole sitter was dictating the pace. He was quite close to the Pro Ams. That's well within his.
That's his choice.
That's his choice if he wants to do it. But if I'll just play this through, we won't say anything at the moment, but you'll sort of see what we're going to see now. Okay, so let's see if we can get our viewers to say, what's wrong with this bit? What would you say was wrong with this bit?
Well, while the viewers can put their view in first, I would say, obviously, in terms of the start, if drivers want to push the pace along with the group in front, that is their prerogative, like we've already said. But the thing is, just because the light goes green, which for these drivers it went green at that point in club before they've even reached club corner, then that's not your indication to go. That is the indication that the leader's going. So if you went to,
well, I would say, I
think Max is absolutely right there. They've seen the green flag and thought it's time to race. When actually, if you've done any officials as well, you will know about this. That if you sit there and you make a gap to the cars in front, if there's multi-classes, you still don't race until you get to the start-finish line.
No,
you just
you've
don't.
got to stay in your positions, haven't you, really? And obviously, I can see Alex is saying that obviously he was in the wrong position. And, as admins, we would hold our hands up and say, we messed up there. But you've got to respect the positions that we're in anyway, unless you're speaking on there. The problem I have with this, and I think Haley's just basically said it, is that Lydia is leading the rookies, rightly or wrongly, and probably wrongly. But the problem is you're pushing the pace on her. So she's gathering up speed to try and take back the pole position in it, which is closing the gap to the AM. I agree, if it's on green light normally, you start speeding up and get it. But the problem is when you come into club, there's a concertina effect here, which catches out. Now, it's the responsibility of the driver behind to make sure that he doesn't hit into the back of the car in front. So you're going in a little bit too hot coming in there. You can see the cars all bunching up sort of here. And then obviously there's a bit of bumping up there that slows the field down totally. And then literally the AMs are right on, the rookies are right on the back of the AM. So it's just being a bit more careful, I would say.
Now, if you want to play it from the start slowly, and I'll go through, because I don't, as David Gill's just pointed out, I've got a different interpretation of the rules. Like, I thought it was race from the start finish line, but I don't write the rules, so it's good to have my view there. So if you play it slowly from here, now obviously Lydia has decided, Lydia's on pole. Whether it is right or wrong, she's on pole. So I understand Alex saying he was on pole. You weren't. Lydia was ahead of you on the grid. Whether it was right or wrong, she was. So you forced the pace there. And you've even said on your stream live, you said, yeah, but you're not on pole, Alex. That's the point. You're saying from pole us to try to develop a gap. You weren't on pole. Lydia was.
Yeah.
And you
probably, yeah, I agree with it.
You literally said on your own stream, why am I dictating the pace? Because you knew you weren't on pole. In terms of the actual grid, Lydia is number 300 and odd. I don't know what number exactly. I can't quite read it. 3T2. So she is a rookie, and that was changed at round 1. So, we don't have a huge grid of drivers for each class. So you should kind of know who you're racing or whatever. But in this case, Lydia was on pole. She was one position ahead of you on the grid, in the standings, on the relative, on everything. Whether it was wrong, that's you weren't supposed to be on pole, but you weren't in the recommend. If you go back and watch the grid, Lydia's name comes up before yours, which means she's on pole. So you may have supposed. You can check that, Alex, but you weren't. Lydia was ahead of you on the grid. I can tell you that right away. Because we went through the grid and I thought you were on pole because Lydia's colour is not quite being changed on SDK yet. So in terms of the actual positioning on the grid, Lydia was ahead of you. So she should be dictating pace and you speeding off for somebody who's a rookie, as Lydia has explained already tonight. It's forced her to sort of go, oh, hang on, I'm meant to be leading pace. I'll put my foot down because Alex could have been doing whatever. And then as you get round, obviously the understanding from some drivers is that you go on the green light. Now, if that's the case, you still have to be careful through that corner. And if that was the middle of a race, there'd be a concertina
it is. I mean, whether it's going, I pretty much think it is. You can go on green, but you've got to obviously respect the cars in front of you and give the race. In the race, if you were racing behind somebody, you would give them the space so you didn't hit into the back of them. The start is even more treacherous because you can get this effect, exactly what we're seeing on screen, with a little bit of contact at the front here with these
Alex,
cars.
I'll clear that up in a minute. Go on, carry on, Andy.
These cars here, you can see how close all these cars here, and you will get that concertina effect. We can see it here happening in front of us. So the BMW, I think it is that? No, the Porsche goes really slow, and then it concertinas back, and then the Ford hits into the Beamer. The Porsche has to hanker on, and then basically obviously you hit into the back, or McLaren hits into the back of the
Yeah.
Porsche. Now, if we had left the gap there, there would have been no issues, and
Yeah.
you can speed up going on to the start finish because it's green light and you can race to a degree. But the pole sitter always should be going across the line first, unless they spin or whatever.
Yeah.
Silverstone is a unique track. I mean, it's not a unique as in it's the only one that has a short lap, even if you click the full parade lap, because there are some others. Le Mans is another example. So I think the longer tracks, I think iRaces on the longer tracks.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Nordschleife. You're not going to get a full formation lap on Nordschleife. It'd be ridiculous. But yeah, so just to answer a few questions in the chat, there was a mistake, and I think it was Stephen should have been on pole. Yeah, we get that, but Stephen was somewhere. Where did Stephen get put on the grid? We got a little thrown by what was some ridiculous pace by Stephen, and we spoke to him about that straight after the race. Why we didn't speak about this personally to people is because we wanted to be clear and honest about it right now. You know, we wanted everybody to see it at once. Yeah, Stephen was meant to be on pole, but he wasn't. Whatever happened with the grid builder, it didn't work the way we needed it to, for whatever reason. Now, I know that there's... we'll get to another point in a minute, sorry. Stephen should have been on pole. He wasn't. There's not a lot we could do about that once it's built. There isn't anything we can do about it. In terms of the grid here, and we spoke to Stephen straight away, and he was absolutely fine with it and everything. And he was like, yeah, well, it is what it is. We'll get to you in a minute, Paul. Sorry, I'm seeing comments coming in and I'm trying to answer everything at once. So here, in terms of Silverstone, you cannot have a full formation lap. It doesn't happen on iRacing. So that was the first comment that come in about why we didn't communicate a short start. We didn't know. You know,
well, we did. We
know
knew
to a
that
point, but
we didn't click the short lap. I know I didn't do that because I'm the one that sets the sessions up.
And
but I also know that Silverstone, you don't do a full parade lap anyway. There's nowhere that does a full parade lap on Silverstone. Just
right.
And iRacism, as I would call it.
Okay. Alex, I will get to your point in a minute. You weren't on pole. Lydia was. We've said that a million times.
Alex, we understand that you probably should have been on pole, but you weren't.
You shouldn't have been. Well, you shouldn't have been. Stephen should have been.
Yeah, Stephen should have been on pole. Yeah.
This is the whole point. Like, so there's an admin or game error going into the session, but once it's in the session, if you wanted us to reset it and do a whole restart, we would have been an hour later. We can't do that for people. It's not possible because one, even for the stream, like Lewis, as soon as we're finished, he goes off because he's got other things to do. You know, drivers have other things to do. They have specialist times and whatever to race. In terms of the full formation lap not being communicated, yeah, to be fair, you've all sat there on the start line, and for Alex, it would have told you that because Lydia's class isn't technically changed. That's why. But I don't know what you're preaching.
I'll hold hands up from an admin.
I don't understand why you would be told you're on pole and then 2 seconds after you've pulled away, you've said, "Why am I dictating the pace?" You've just been told you're on pole. Now, Stephen could have had penalties or anything. You didn't know that. But anyway, in the whole situation, you know, you've all got your numbers, and in terms of a formation lap, whether it is parked here, as they all are, you all know how much time there is to get to the finish line. You all know Silverstone. You've just qualified round it. So whether you're on pole and you're shocked about it, whether you're not sure there's a short formation lap, whether you think we've meant to be doing all 173 corners of a Nordschleife before we get around to the start-finish line, it doesn't matter. That gap still could have been left by whoever was on pole. And actually, Alex, if you believed you were on pole, which your spotter apparently said, you pulled away and still stayed pretty much behind the Anfield. And you pulled well away. Alex, I haven't said it's common knowledge, but you're sitting on the straight up to Stowe, which proves to me that if you know Silverstone, you know where you're starting. We couldn't have a lap to develop a space. Pros and Pro-Ams managed to do it. Pro-Ams and Ams kind of managed to do it, but obviously we know the Am leader decided he didn't want the gap. The gap was down to choice. We've stated we can't flick back and watch every start. It's impossible. So it's just not the way we can do it. So this is where I want to explain to you. One, the short formation lap, couldn't do anything about it. It is what it is. You're saying about a lap to develop a gap. You could have sat there as pole position, as you state, and let them pull away. You didn't have to go when the rest of the field did. You know, that's the main thing. Like, because it's a short formation lap, you could have all sat there on the grid. Right, pro's gone. 5 seconds later, pro-ams go. After 5 seconds, you know, we're here to run a championship. We're here to help you guys, especially rookies, improve themselves. But what we're not here to do is mummy cuddle you. You can see where the start of the race is when the cars start gridding up. You know there's only 2 corners to go. It just needs a bit of common sense in terms of waiting and leaving that space. If you want to leave that space, it's not a given.
The problem is, yeah, you went on the green, and that's fair enough if you wanted to go on the green, but you hit into the back of another car in front. And there's no excuse. You are the driver of a car that is supposed to not hit into the back of the car in front. Now you did, and unfortunately, it sort of, that was it. Now it's down to the drivers, and what I will say on this is that obviously it's within class. So you're within class racing, so you do not need to be in front of the car in front. You know Silverstone's a long lap. Whether it's a short lap, and we'll probably get some more where we do get short laps.
Yeah.
So the person on pole can just stay there for a couple of seconds, like the Pro-Ams did. You saw the gap that we showed earlier of the gap between the pros and the Pro-Ams. You can do that because it doesn't matter if you're 10, 15, 20 seconds behind the class in front, because you're not racing them. You're racing the people around you in your class. So as long as you stay within your bubble, you don't need to go on a green class. The pole sitter is the one that's controlling sort of what the gap between each one of the classes, and then you can sort of go, but you can't be close to the class in front. Go on the green flag when there's a real tight
effect.
You know
yeah. I mean, if
that's what it's all about.
Just to clear up one of the points, if Andy presses results and presses grid on here, we will see who's ahead of who anyway. So if you press G at the top, if you go to results, and just go to the G and just click on that, it'll put everybody in order of the grid. So if we scroll down to about 47th place, we will have Lydia ahead of Alex Rhodes. So I don't get whether it's on your stream or anything, the game will have had Lydia ahead of you on the grid, whether your spotter had said you were on pole or not. There's clearly a 300 car ahead of you, and Lydia was there to dictate the pace.
That's obviously
it's all learning.
It's all learning. The rookie class is there for drivers that obviously are still learning and got a bit to learn. And then you obviously step up to the Pro-Ams and the pros, being a bit like that. But it's just maybe it's an educational thing for going forward. There was no penalty there to be had. You know, the only penalty would be, for the car hitting into the back of another car. If the car in front had put the penalty in. Yeah, because, you haven't shown, you haven't got control over your car going into it because of the concertina effect, and that's why we say maybe leave a little bit of gap between the classes for the pole sitter, because you're racing people in your own class, not in the thingy. But obviously we dwelled on this point for quite a long time, and it's just something to show for the future round guys. And I think as it's developing, and I believe it is the right way to go, because straight away you're racing the people around you.
I mean, I'll admit, and I said it to you and Tom, I had massive concerns about this, because we may get issues because you're going from one lobby to another, and then you've got different interpretations of rules. But in the grand scheme of things, we didn't have the issue in round 2.
No, we had it,
and it wasn't to do with having a longer formation now, because on this one you could stay still. You weren't going to have the pros coming round 40 seconds time and run into the back of you. It wasn't going to happen. So the rookies could have sat there and waited all day. They could have waited a whole minute before they started their race if they wanted. But that's fine. All the way. Yeah.
That's where we're at. But obviously, so that's pretty much it for the penalties, guys. But I do want to show some probably decent moves, and I think Max said that.
While you find the moves, we did also have on the Discord now a clarification page. So there's something brought up on there, which was which, if Andy doesn't mind, I'll quickly try and fill that one in. Let me just find it very quickly. Customer feedback. There we go. It was about pros racing pro-ams and things like that. So if you had,
in fact, yeah, we did mention it.
In terms of general situation, in terms of general battling, the pro-am felt he had to fight the pro because he had the pro. We are not stopping people fighting each other in class. It doesn't matter in terms of that. That's not a problem. If you're going to cause an accident because of you fighting somebody you don't need to fight, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. That even goes back to that start. You're getting so close to somebody you don't need to get close to. It was mentioned about closing the door and stuff. Now, there is no advice from us, if you're pro fighting a pro-am or vice versa, not to fight. We're just saying be sensible about it. So when you're in Le Mans and you've got a GT3 car and an LMP, or a GT3 next year to be GT3 Pro and GT3 Am, you're in the same car, but there's no need to fight about it because you're not in the same class. So just be sensible. If you want to defend, if you want to have a fight with them, that's fine, but just be sensible.
Yeah, I mean, we said on this, what we said on the stream is obviously there is no need to fight him, because obviously, like we say, they were in different classes. So, is it worth trying to overtake? But obviously, if you feel that obviously you're faster, then by all means you can overtake, and that's where I would expect the pro. Obviously, this case was a pro with a pro-am. I would expect the pro, if he felt that the pro-am when he wasn't battling, to obviously just have a little bit of respect and let the pro-am driver through, So it goes both ways, going up and going down. That if Silverstone is not your track, or any track's coming up and you're coming up and you can see the guy behind is a lot faster than you, even if he is a different class, I would have thought with drivers being drivers to have a little bit of respect and just let the driver through if he's battling. Certainly if he's got some of his class behind him, a couple of seconds behind him, then I would expect him to sort of let them through. But we're not going to say do this and do that in the rules. We're literally going to give you drivers a little bit of not self-nogging yourself to say, right, okay, in this situation, what should I do? Being pro drivers and pro-am, you're at the top end of there, so you've got plenty of experience on that sort of side. So it's with that. What we're saying on the commentating is that you are in the lead by 3 or 4 seconds. Is there any need to make that passing move? But if you're on the track and you want to make that passing move, you could do, but you're not going to gain any points from it. That's sort of what we're saying, and that's the risk and reward for making a passing move on somebody outside your class. Is if it entangles in an incident, you'd lose a lot more than just trying to gain one extra pace on that. But let's have a look at Enjoy. Obviously, not to be all doom and gloom. Enjoy Max's pass here. And this fight was in tune with James for quite a few laps beforehand. But this is obviously where Max was able to make the move. I think that was for third in class, if I remember rightly, as well. So it was valuable. So coming down the one of the classic passing opportunities, James trying to do a block coming down into Brooklands, and obviously still got that slipstream. You see the closing speed here, and this is great respect from James as well, giving Max the room on the inside to make the pass move, and then likewise for Max to leave that inside gap. So, you know, from a side-by-side between Max and James, that was a really great passing move and respect between the two drivers. They both give each other enough room, but still manage to try and get the passing
Careful,
move.
Max, trying to get out the door in a minute with the ego you just put on your head. What a lovely move, really big fan of his driver. I'm surprised. Good job you don't have to put a crash helmet on.
I know. But no, we do have this. We obviously look tonight about going over the incidents just so you can see our methodology of when we go through it. But there is cracking racing that goes out on the track as well. And I'll try and include a lot more than this. So obviously, you drivers, we need you to tell us where the good passing moves are, and then we'll get them on the stream for you to have your 5 minutes of fame and the good positive side, because I don't want it all to be about the negative sides of the penalties, but it's all about being open when we come from. You may agree with them, you may not agree with them, but at least you know we're looking at the good side of racing anyway. So well done, Max, for and James as well for a really good battle through what is a tricky part of the track into Brooklands as well. So, good job there, guys. I haven't done any of the photos. Should we have a look at the photos?
Have a good look. Well, I don't know after his driving performance in the pit lane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got any photos of that one.
You're rubbing the salt in the wound there, Dave.
Oh, we'll be bringing it back up on the next race, don't worry.
What's that?
Yeah, when he pits and we go, oh, Thomas, be careful. Luckily, there's not a big run into Donington's pit lane, so you know, if you hit something there, it'd be quite impressive.
Oh, yeah, but you got the treacherous exit, haven't you?
Oh, don't say please no, Tom, because I'm sorry, but even if you say please no, I'm more likely to say it. Unless a check comes in the post in the next 2 weeks.
That's right, man. Right, let's see if we can share this. Catching on the hockey, huh? Okay, now let's have a look. Share a screen. There we go. I did especially like which was my favourite one. It was this one. Yeah, no, it wasn't this one. It's a great pro. It's one going round to Maggots and Beckett's. Where are we? Which was my favourite. This one. What a quality photo that is. Around Maggots and Beckett's, just big.
I noticed Tom had to sneak himself in front of that.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Without the damage.
But yeah, if you obviously like some of the photos, guys, then Thomas Cope of Simography, who is doing all the photos for our rounds, just get hold of him, and he's able to do lots of photos just for you any way you want it. So either get them on Discord or thinking, but there's some great photos.
Yeah,
I love these ones where you get the.
Love you really, Tom.
We do, mate. We do. But,
we do appreciate
well,
the time
I
you've
think,
been into photos.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's probably the end, guys, of another pit stop here at Silverstone. A bit of a long one. Obviously, getting the two drivers in and discussing some of the other bits and pieces. But hopefully, again, it's been informative for you. So you've got a little bit of a break now before Donington Park on the first Sunday in November. So plenty of practice time to be had. And I think they're probably going to need it around that track because it's a small track, 50 drivers. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and what a circuit Donington always is. You know, I have a bit of a soft spot for it because it's my local, and you have the Donington Museum there until very recently, which was one of my first motorsports experiences. So a real soft spot for it. I'm glad that the layout didn't go to the Grand Prix layout years ago when they were wanting to build over all the hills, and Donington's still recovering a little bit from that, but in terms of a racetrack to drive around, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it will be extremely interesting. Completely contrast to Silverstone, a narrow circuit, really short. So qualifying in the classes is going to be really important to be able to get that lead out in front, because I think the field will be stretched out, and I think we'll be seeing quite a few more passes on the back markers in it's back to format A, so the two 30-minute races, so it should provide a lot of entertainment outside, and I think the replays will be showing quite a lot, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially with the two 30-minute races. Before everybody jumps on, we know there's been suggestions in the Discord about how qualifying might be changed in terms of pro-ams and AMs, and we're all just, that's being discussed behind the streams, and it'll be completely clear before the event what's going on. Tom and Andy will certainly get their heads around that before, so you can have plenty of notice on it. And also, obviously, the second race, the different grid is going to be really interesting to see what can happen there.
Yeah, it certainly will, but really appreciate you guys coming in to join us in the chat. It gives us really good feedback from ourselves as well. We're not going to get it right 100% of the time. We are humans. We all make mistakes, and it's about making the league as good as it can be for you drivers to enjoy it, because that's our main aim here. And obviously this is what these pit stops are all about, is a little bit of feedback, and obviously get to know you drivers a little bit more. So a big thank you for myself, big thank you for Dave, personally for myself, for giving up his time on a Wednesday to be able to come and join me in here looking at this. So big thanks to you, Dave, from myself.
I kind of enjoy it.
I'm
going to get one of them curly judge wigs and a hammer.
Big gavel.
Yeah.
Judgment has been passed.
Yeah. I'll get one of them by the end of the season.
Definitely is. But no, I really appreciate you guys joining us. But until obviously 2.5 weeks time now, we'll be off air till then. But we'll be back for a bang for Donington on the first Sunday in November. 2 30-minute races. Come and join us. Obviously, give us a thumbs up if you like the stream. Think about subscribing and clicking the bell, and we'll see all the live racing that we do here on Performance Link. And you'll also see the pit stops that we have a little tune with me, Dave, and you, the drivers. So until next time, good night.